Hi everyone!
Hello again.
We're back again. This video we want to talk about a drama that aired, I think, a couple of months ago now on BBC Two as part of a series of dramas and documentaries a lot of broadcasters were doing in the UK because it was to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the decriminalisation of homosexuality.
Yep.
In the UK with a massive thing, so there were so many dramas and documentaries and such that were being shown. One drama in particular is one that we want to talk about, and this was one that sadly didn't really get marketed. There wasn't really any advertising for it at all, but for me, it was the best thing.
It was great.
That we saw.
Was amazing.
It was absolutely wonderful, and that is Man in an Orange Shirt. So yeah, it's written by Patrick Gale. He is a novelist. I thought it was actually an adaptation of a novel, but one of his novels, but it's not. It's just something that he's written for the BBC as a two-part drama. And it covers two time zones, but one family. So we've got the 1940s, we've got Michael, Thomas and Flora, and then we've got modern day where Flora is now an elderly woman, Michael has passed away, and Flora lives with her grandson, Adam, who is a vet. And it covers about being homosexual in two different time zones within one family, how it impacts that family, and how the men themselves feel about their sexuality,
and how times have changed, how society has changed. And just because homosexuality has become better known and society has changed its opinion doesn't mean that the lives of gay men has really got easier in some ways.
Yes, yeah.
Because, I mean, having said that, it could just be Adam because he has a real problem with intimacy.
He does.
And a lot of that comes from generational homophobia.
Yeah.
And internalised homophobia. But it all really begins with his grandfather, Michael, who fell in love with an artist called Thomas March.
Yeah.
And they had known each other at school, and then during the Second World War, they meet again, and they have an encounter where they kiss. And from what I could tell, I think that they had fancied each other at school, but neither of them had made a move, and it's just like a coming together for them both.
I don't know if they necessarily fancied each other at school, but I kind of feel like because of the way that they reacted to each other when they saw each other, or at least, because Thomas said something and then Michael realised it was Thomas.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh my God, I've got to get you out of here, of this situation. There was explosions and all stuff going on. I don't know if they necessarily fancied each other, but there was certainly a connection between them when they were young. It may have been that at that time they didn't recognise it as being something, maybe because of their age or whatever. We don't even know what age they were at school together, but there was certainly a connection in order for Michael to know his name because of a quirk that he said that was just really obscure. He knew exactly who that person was. So obviously it was very important.
And they, Michael is demobbed because Thomas has to leave to go back to his own unit.
Yes.
Michael is demobbed and finds Thomas, and they make love, and it's absolutely beautiful. That scene, there's the electricity in the room. It's like they're magnets just being drawn to each other. It's beautiful. And he tells Thomas that Flora doesn't know he's back, so they go away for a week.
He's literally an hour. He's been back in London for an hour.
And
he goes to Thomas. They make love, and then they go off to this cottage that Michael's parents owned and left him. Obviously, therefore, making it clear that his parents have passed away. Oh no, he does actually mention his parents passing away when they're in the hospital.
Because they're catching up together, aren't they?
And they have this week where it's just lovely.
It's perfect.
They go for walks. They do shopping. They cook.
They eat.
They
together.
Read.
They write.
They write.
Thomas
draw.
paints.
Yeah, it's a week of pure bliss,
and
happiness,
and
you really feel it.
Yeah.
And like you see them making love as well in this sequence. There's nothing graphic about it.
No.
In this first episode with them, it's kind of more graphic with Adam, but we'll discuss that. But it's so beautiful and sensual and soft and warm.
It's love. It's pure intimacy.
Yeah, and the music and the cinematography is just phenomenal. It's
beautiful. Dan Jones did the music, and I need that music.
It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful.
But this has all the elements of things that you and I both love.
Yeah.
I've got a real kind of sadistic thing for love stories that don't work out.
Yeah.
I love stories where the circumstances override the love that the two people have with each other.
And you totally understand why.
Yeah, because Michael adores Thomas, loves Thomas with his heart and his soul, but cannot get over the societal need and pressure to marry.
Yes.
To not be...
That he's a man of a certain age, he's gone to war, he's now back home, so he has to do the thing of get married and have a child and
be normal.
Yes.
In that awful way.
And Flora is his fiancée, who he has also known since childhood.
Yeah.
So I find that really interesting that you have these two people that he's known since childhood, so therefore really sit deep within him, and how different they are, yet they're quite similar at the same time.
I think Flora is a perfect kind of representation of that societal pressure, because she's quite rigid in her character anyway. I think she's terrified of sex, but she's fascinated by sex, and their sexual life is awful.
Yes,
it's because he's literally just trying to get it done.
It's
get
quite
it over with. It's brutal almost. And he hurts her. Really, and
she cries
through it, and it's not good at all. But compared with the softness and the passion and the purity of his love with Thomas, it's torture to watch.
I wonder also that when they do have sex, because we were saying about how they go into separate beds in the room, and wonder if that is the only time that they ever do it.
Yeah, because she gets pregnant very quickly.
She does. But earlier that day, obviously they got married. Michael begged Thomas to be there and be a witness at the wedding.
Yeah.
And they have this discussion in the toilets.
Oh, that's so amazing.
It kills me, that scene. And it's like, and you cut from that scene to them having sex in this brutal manner, and it's just like
that scene when they kiss in the toilets. It's like that's the last gasp of oxygen that Michael has, and then he's just drowning in his own guilt and unhappiness, but he can't allow himself to break free from that.
No.
And what I loved about Thomas is Thomas never ever ever allows society to dictate his life.
No, his
mother is very agreeable to that too.
Very, very relaxed. And his studio is upstairs from a man.
An older gay man, isn't he?
I think he's got. Isn't it something like an antique shop or something? It's something like that.
It's something, but he's quite a kind of lascivious man.
You can see later on there's this whole sequence where you see Thomas with the man and his various friends and everything, and you can see that he's like being immersed into this group, and that man is not maybe leader, but he's alpha in the group.
I think he's a man like Thomas.
Yeah,
who
he's
is
very comfortable with who he is.
Absolutely, and he. I love there's a shot in it where Michael meets with him when Thomas is imprisoned.
Yeah.
And he's wearing this red suit.
Yeah.
And he's walking through this stream of grey
and black.
Drabness.
Yeah.
And he's in this beautiful red suit. And he stands out.
Yeah.
And he intends to stand out.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care that, I watched one of the documentaries I watched was about, obviously, gay men. It was illegal. It was literally illegal to be gay in this country.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying.
Yeah.
You'd get plainclothes police officers who would pose as gay men to arrest gay men.
Yeah.
It was an incredibly difficult thing to be back then.
So with the heartache of losing Thomas, he kind of becomes a banker. I'm going to be a man and I'm going to do this. And there's I find a scene so fascinating when goes to the public toilets.
Oh yeah, I know.
And he kind of follows a person.
Yeah.
But then they go into a cubicle and he kind of turns around and goes to urinals and he's like, no, and then he realises that someone's looking at him when he stood at urinals and he's like, no, get out of here. And he turns and he has to turn around to face that man before to be able to leave. And the guy stood there at the door with the door open holding his crotch and he's like, oh God, I can't breathe, get me out. It's that thing of, I yearn for this, I want this, oh my God, pull back, don't go there, don't think about it.
I think he relaxes as it goes on because Thomas is no longer available to him for various reasons. And it is a need in him that he needs.
But as soon as a possibility that he could have Thomas again, he just goes, right, that's my focus. Forget my wife, forget my kid, and we're going to go to France. We're going to run off together.
He really was going to do it, and it just doesn't happen.
No,
it's tragic.
It's just that bit with us on the staircase when he breaks down, and I'm like, jeez, after the prison. But the actress who plays young Flora, all of the cast are amazing, but the actress who played young Flora,
Joanna Vanderam.
She was brilliant, and there was a sequence when she realises, two sequences, when she realises that her husband is gay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she's saying how it's a sin, it's sick, and all this lot.
She even says, "Are you safe to be around children?"
Yeah.
Because Patrick Gale said that his mother, because this was all sort of inspired by Patrick Gale's parents,
right?
Because Patrick Gale is gay.
Yeah.
And he discovered that his father was gay. His mother told him his father was gay, and she married him and found letters from their best man, and they had had sex the night before their wedding in a hotel. He had spent the night before their wedding with his best man, and she and he asked her, how did you cope with that? And she said, well, I never slept with him again.
Yeah.
I never left him alone with you.
Yeah. Because
her generation believed that gay men were paedophiles.
Yeah.
And obviously they're not.
No.
That's just a completely different thing.
At that time, there wasn't a level of understanding.
No, and there wasn't a level of desire to understand either.
It's different. Shut it off. Get it away. Yeah. Don't go there. Yeah. It was.
And,
we don't want to ask why.
A lot of Patrick Gale's novels are inspired by events that happened in his own life.
Yeah.
Like he's got a book called A Place Called Winter, and the main character in that is his great-grandfather.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I want to get some of his books.
I'd be quite interested to read some of his books because I'm actually in my creative writing course that I'm doing at the moment. I'm retaking it. We actually read an excerpt of one of his books, and it was really well written. Yeah. So anyway, back to this. But the other scene that I really love is the scene when she realises that Michael has gone, and she and a little boy Robert is crying his eyes out, and she's telling him to stop. And she gets to the point, obviously the baby's not in the,
No,
you know,
can clearly
the way
see that.
clearly the baby's not in it.
No.
But she's got like a little like wooden boxed off area,
Yeah.
and she picks up, she says, "Shut up!" And
Yeah.
she's screaming her head off, and then
Yeah.
she realises, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? And then she picks him up and holds him and cries. And that was so well done, that moment.
And then her coldness
when he
towards him when he comes back. And then they just sort of have their marriage as a marriage is over. Yeah. It is over.
Well, she says, I don't want you to talk about it. I don't want to hear about encounters that you have.
Yeah.
That's it.
But we're still going to
be married for Robert.
Yeah.
And
he's happy with that.
Yeah.
Because she could have taken away his child, and he does love his son.
Yeah.
He really does love his son.
Yeah.
And it is utterly, utterly tragic.
The final encounter with Thomas, though, is like...
Because they go to a department store.
It's about, 5 years later?
5 years later, because their son's starting school.
He's just starting school, isn't he?
Yeah.
So they're getting his uniform for a boarding school.
For boarding school, yeah.
Boys' boarding school.
Probably the boarding school that Michael went to.
Probably, most likely, yeah.
And they bump into Thomas.
Yeah.
And it's very, very awkward.
Very.
And Thomas gives Robert this little tin of crayons.
Crayons, yeah.
Pastel crayons. And they have a very awkward conversation.
And they say how, I'm only in the country for a short visit. I've moved to France.
And and that would have been the house.
To the place where Michael planned for them to run off together. Yeah. And it's like...
I know.
God, it's just like...
It was... And then there's a really interesting moment at the end of that when they get on the bus.
They drive.
Flora looks back and Thomas is there and he goes like that. And it's to her.
I was going to say...
Not to Michael.
I was going to say, it's because he's looking directly at her in that moment, isn't he? It's not like he's doing it and he doesn't realise that she's looking.
I think
he's doing it to her.
I personally think he's saying, take care of him.
Yeah.
I really do. I think he's moved on emotionally. He's moved on and he can see that although it isn't entirely happy, it is what Michael wanted.
Yeah.
So take care of him.
Yeah.
And she does.
And she does, yeah.
To her credit.
That's when the first episode ends. And then we shift to the second episode, which
go
is
forward by 60 years. Yeah.
And we meet elderly Flora.
Yeah.
Who's living with her grandson, Adam. It's referred to, should I say, that she got a second chance with raising Adam. It's not referred to what happened to his dad, Robert.
No.
We know that Michael is dead.
I think Robert is dead too.
I would think that Robert is dead as well, because it would be very weird for her to be living with Adam if Robert wasn't dead.
Mm-hmm. And she says, I was a bad mother.
Yeah.
And then he says, well, you did all right with me. So presumably he went to live with her when he was quite young.
Yes.
Which would explain all this internalized homophobia, because if he's been living with her for years and years, it's all going to come trickle down the generations.
Yeah.
And Flora lives in a kind of sort of sterile coziness, doesn't she?
Yeah, they have like I don't know if she's like a carer or a maid in the house because she makes her meals and that, and you see her cleaning and that, and then she leaves of an evening.
Sort of like a kind of housekeeper.
Yeah.
But not housekeeper. She's actually just a very, very good friend.
Yeah, she's a very lovely woman, and you see her like her with some friends playing poker, that kind of thing. But other than that, that's it.
Bridge. They're playing bridge, not poker.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But with the housekeeper, she's really annoyed that she overseasons everything that she makes
because she's foreign.
Because she's foreign.
Because she's foreign, and there is a sort of really subtle commentary on racism because Adam's partner Steve is black. And she doesn't expect that. That is part of it. It's very, very.
Well, Adam. This follows Adam meeting Steve and their relationship establishing. So
I love this Adam and Steve.
Yeah, Adam and Steve is awesome. Yeah. Adam is a vet and he meets Steve because he brings his cat in who's dying, and he finds out he's an architect and various things happen. But it's so interesting with Adam in regards to, as you said, how his intimacy issues.
Yeah,
and he has an app on his phone where basically you can choose a gay man to meet up and have sex with.
It's Tinder.
It's Tinder. It's Tinder.
But it's not called that.
It's not called that. It's a kind of different generic name so they can use it, as it were, in the drama, kind of. And so he there's this bit where he meets up with his friends, his uni friends, who are celebrating because she's the female member of the group is just about to have twins with her husband, and Adam used to date her when they were at university, and he feels like he just abandoned that to go have sex with this random person.
He's so terrified of intimacy.
And whenever he has sex, it's very heated and everything's cranked up to 15, and it's just quick, done, go, get out.
It's purely for the physical sensation, and it's white noise in his head when he's doing it.
So obviously his scenes are a lot more graphic than the first one, but you totally get why it needs to do that because of his intimacy issues and to understand from his perspective how he views his sexuality. And every time after he's had sex with Vanderbilt, he runs out. He doesn't allow for conversation.
Nope.
A lot of the time, and there's even one guy who he has sex with, and he doesn't find out the guy's name until after they're done. And he goes home and with nail brushes, he will scrub his skin red raw to make sure
he's got some
clean.
Seriously internalized homophobia. He really does. And I loved what's his name? Is it Julian Morris that plays him? I think it is.
I'm not sure, but I can put it in the description. So,
but his performance was so good. And Adam is one of these people who something happens, he can't cope, so he blacks out the noise with sex. And it's him learning that he can have intimacy and love and sex all at the same time.
And I think with Adam, it's not that he thinks it's wrong, his sexuality.
No.
Not in the slightest. It's just how his intimacy issues towards his sexuality.
Having said that, he's not out to his grandmother.
No, he's not. Because of her. There's so many levels to Adam.
Can we just talk about Vanessa Bloody Redgrave for a second? Because Queen...
Adult Flora.
Queen did some queening. She was fabulous in this. She's one of my favourite actresses is Vanessa Redgrave. She's so brilliant.
And with the cottage that Michael and Thomas went, it's obviously because Michael is dead, it passed to her, and she was saying about getting it let out or something and gave it to Adam. And because Steve is an architect and he liked him and everything, he asked if Steve would be interested in working on it. And he was over the moon because he said, this is absolutely amazing house.
And Steve lives in the house that Thomas was living at 60 years earlier.
Yes.
Which, when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, it's meant to be.
And the first time you see him in that house, he's painting. He's painting that picture, isn't he? And it's like, oh my God.
And also, Steve lives with a guy called Casper, and they have an open relationship, which Steve doesn't like, but doesn't really have a choice about. And that's part of why he has a problem with Adam's behaviour, because he wants to be with him, but at the same time, he's like, I don't want to share you. I'm not going to do that. I've been doing that, and it's horrible.
Yeah, but it's so interesting that they're like gutting the house.
Yeah.
And in the process of gutting the house, I felt as soon as he pulled out, I was like, he finds hidden the suitcase that Michael had packed when he was going to run off. He doesn't open it, but he finds the suitcase, and I'm like, that's the blue suit. Oh my God. I know what's going to happen now. And then he pulled out the frame, the painting. And then actually on the back, Thomas had written to Flora and Michael in the hopes that this will hang in your living room.
No, the enclosed.
Oh, the enclosed will hang in your living room.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, when he presents that to Flora, he goes, look what I found in the house, the cottage today.
It's like her face. And her face just white. And she's like,
get it away
from
me.
And it's like a tsunami of emotion that goes across her face.
And he obviously doesn't understand because he has no idea what the significance of the painting is.
No.
And he says, who's Thomas? Who is this man? But yeah, as things go on, I love the development. Like, I adore the love shared between Thomas and Michael, but I adore the development of the relationship between Adam and Steve. I feel like when it ends, that is kind of like where properly the point of like the week that Michael and Thomas had in the cottage, they will have together, but they had to get from Adam having these real issues to right at that moment.
But Adam and Steve will have it for a lifetime.
Of course, yes.
A week.
Yes, exactly.
And I love, there's a scene in it which is one of the most beautiful, romantic, sensitive scenes where Adam has a horrendous row with Flora.
Yeah.
He goes out, he gets very drunk, he has sex with a man.
He's kind of forced.
He's raped.
Raped, basically.
But he never says anything else about it. He feels utterly miserable. And he goes down to the cottage and he wakes Steve up and he says, I need a shower. And he said, well, there's no shower here because they've literally had to gut this cottage. Yeah. And he's standing at the sink naked, scrubbing himself clean.
Yeah.
And Steve stops him and takes care of him and wraps him in that orange blanket, which I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Production design on this is fabulous.
Well, we'll talk about cinematography in a minute.
And takes care of him and holds him and gives him the emotional support that he desperately, desperately needs. And I think that's the moment that he falls in love with him.
Yeah.
Properly falls in love with him.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the fact that there was no graphic sex scene between Adam and Steve. You didn't need it because it wasn't physical.
We didn't see any of it because it was a private moment.
It wasn't physical gratification he needed. It was emotional gratification that he needed. And it was just such a beautifully put together. Yeah. And then, of course, there's the final bombshell.
And when that happened, I was sat on the sofa and I did the thing that I've only ever done once before, and that was when Beth died in The Walking Dead. I went to my knees. I was sat on the floor, on my rug, bawling like a freaking baby. I was so
The thing is, once the cottage is ready, they have a kind of party to celebrate.
And Flora turns up, but she doesn't know that there's a party. She just kind of.
I'm feeling she thinks that they're like doing stuff outside the cottage, and I think she's almost afraid to see what they're doing.
I think so as well, because she sort of goes kind of, oh my God. Yeah. And she kind of turns around and then she's like, no, you've got to do this. And then she turns back, and that's when the camera follows around and you see it's just a party.
They're just having a party.
It's the friends who've just had their twins, Steve, Casper, and Adam. So it's only 5 people and 2 babies.
Yeah. And Casper is an art dealer and an art expert, and he realises that there's something odd about the frame.
It's a Thomas Marsh. Thomas Marsh is quite...
March, sorry. But he realises that there's something inside the frame, and he opens it, and there is the man in the orange shirt. And it was like, fuck. It was so beautiful.
It's a painting of Michael.
It is. And it's love. It was pure love.
It was painted at the cottage in their week.
Yeah.
And as soon as Flora sees it, she breaks down.
Yeah. Because she realises that there was nothing that she could do to stamp out their love.
No.
And that her selfishness ruined them both. And her, actually.
And she finally confesses to Adam
what she did.
What she did, and that his grandfather was gay. And she's so sorry for everything that she's done.
Mm-hmm. But then Adam messes up.
Yes.
Really messes up because of his kind of addiction to this app.
Yeah.
And Steve leaves him. So Adam goes back to London and he throws himself into Flora's arms.
Because I need my mum, I need my support, I need the person who's raised me. And then she finds the letter.
And
the letter. Right, the letter is in the first episode. It's a letter that Michael wrote to Thomas whilst he was in prison. And he writes it when he's having a really boring day at work.
Yeah.
And it's the most beautiful letter. And we see him on the foot, and he goes up to the post box, and then, that various stuff happens. But then you find out that he never posted the letter. And the fact that Michael has kept it, and he kept it in the crayon box that Robert got presented with by Thomas when he was 5. And it's like, oh, Patrick, you're ripping me apart.
What was wonderful is when the letter's being read out, Adam is in the shower and he's not scrubbing himself. No. He's taking care of himself.
And then you see him go to Steve and Steve reading the letter, and they have this beautiful moment, and you know that they're going to be okay.
They'll be fine.
Yeah. And this is like, I would kind of, when the ending credits came, I was like, no, that can't be it!
If you think about the imagery of Michael in that drab grey flannel suit thing,
heavy wool coat to weigh him down,
walking down the road on his own, and then 60 years later his grandson is holding hands with his probably soon to be husband in public, and how far we've come. I mean, God, we have got a way to go.
Yeah, but we're
in
a better place.
I mean, the place I come from held its first Pride last week.
Yes, Pride very exciting.
And I come from quite a conservative place.
Yeah.
And Pride was in my town, and it was wonderful.
Yay.
It was great. I took my kids. We had a dance. My daughter was like, "Oh, colours!" It was like
rainbows,
But this was truly a gem, an absolute gem.
It's one of those rare dramas that just was so powerful, and I was waiting for the DVD to be released, because it was like a 2-week delay or something until the DVD released. But the use of colour and cinematography is absolutely astonishing, because you've got Michael with his orange shirt, and he wears a red jumper at one point as well. It's a beautiful red jumper on the week, but he never wears any other colour.
He doesn't wear colour except in that week.
Yeah. You have Adam always has an orange hoodie on, unless he's working.
Yeah.
And in Flora's house, when she's older, in the living room, there is an orange wall, and on that is the chimney, and all of the pictures of like her son and her wedding are on that wall, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Flora herself, she's quite drab in both the modern and the past. She's the one who stays consistent. She
is as straight-laced and conservative and as repressed as I think is possible to be.
But don't you find it interesting that in the looking at costume, in the Michael and Thomas relationship, Thomas is kind of the bolder one with brighter colours, and then with the Adam and Steve relationship, Adam's the one with the brighter colours.
Yes.
So the grandfather is in dull and the grandson is in bright, and then the lover of the grandfather is in bright, but the lover of the grandson is in quite dull. It's quite, I find quite interesting. But then Steve does also wear kind of pastel-y kind of colours as well.
I wonder if there's a kind of stability. Because Steve, the way Steve dresses, it's modern, it's sexy, but it's stable, it's solid, it's real.
There's something quite sensual about his choices of clothes.
But Thomas is very similar to Steve in a lot of ways. Yeah. They're both artists.
Yes.
They're both very passionate men.
Yeah.
They're both men who are open about who they are, who do not repress themselves.
Who love with all their heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're both very similar in a lot of ways. And I loved that.
Yeah.
Like Adam and Steve, they heal the wound that Thomas and Michael had between them.
Yes.
And I loved it. I just thought it was so beautiful.
So did I.
And the music, need that music. I loved it. It was everything that a child in time was supposed to be, but wasn't.
Yes. And I think that was the out of all the documentaries and dramas and everything that I saw across for all broadcasters for this, commemorate this, in that month, that is the best thing that I saw, and it had very little marketing.
I know, and that breaks my heart.
Such a shame.
It really, really does break my heart.
Such a shame. But if you're able to watch this, please do. It is wonderful.
It is so amazing.
Yeah.
And I need to get myself a copy of this because I can't not have it.
Yeah.
But I was the same as you when the painting was revealed.
Yeah.
It was like, fucking hell, that is amazing.
And I watched this 2 days ago in order to refresh myself with this video, and I found myself on the floor bawling my eyes out. Even though I know what's coming, it's just so stunningly beautiful.
Yeah, I know. And I think I love the way that Adam learns lessons from Michael's mistakes, Michael's passion for Thomas, and similarly Thomas's passion for Michael, because that painting is pure love.
Yeah,
like that letter is pure love.
Yeah,
and Steve's architectural drawings of the cottage are a love letter.
Yeah,
to him.
Yeah,
but he has to step up, and he has to be the one to say, "I'm sorry. I fucked up and I will never do that again."
Yeah.
And you just know that they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And
and I felt genuinely gutted when it ended because I wanted it to carry on.
I know.
And I think that says something about a good drama.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel like that.
Yeah. I'm going to get some of Patrick's books.
I'd like to.
No
I'd
doubt.
like to get some of Patrick's books now. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah. Oh. If you're able to see this, please do. It's absolutely stunning. The cast are amazing. And I love the fact the back of the DVD is in orange. It's just wow. I
can't. There's not a bad thing in it at all.
No.
I'm just blown away.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I sat and it was 100% of my focus. World could be crashing around me, and I was just it captured me like that and just kept me glued.
I think LGBT films are massively underrated as well. I mean, there are some beautiful films that deal with LGBT issues, and that is probably one of my favourites. Yeah. I love that film. So
I love it too.
Yeah.
All right,
I think
then.
that's it.
I think we're done. So yes, that's what we thought of Man in Orange Shirts. If you're able to get a hold of it, please do. It's absolutely awesome. And if you've seen this or you want to comment or whatever, then please do. And we'll see you in a bit then. All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.